This is the Good Rookies podcast, the show. We are here again for another week, bringing you all the hottest topics in sports and culture. And of course, my name is Nelly J, along with Mr. Randy Holcomb in the building. Guys, we're so excited for another week. I love all the feedback and comments we got on social medias. So appreciate the support. Keep it coming, though. Keep it coming. Ran the Super Bowl tickets by year. Essentially, in 2023, the tickets were $5,000. Now the average purchase price, was $5,795 in 2023. In 2024, it was $9,000, and then this year was back to $5,000. Are you shocked of like the major dip in cost of the tickets? You think it go up year after year, but it seems like 2024 was $9,000 and it dropped by almost 50%.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know how it got that high to begin with. Maybe they were thinking that they were going to be able to sell those tickets and didn't. Maybe it was some it was some free seats in there that they didn't count on. Maybe the sales came down because the tickets weren't selling this year. So it could have been a combination of things. But I would like to see what the scalp tickets went for. Well, so if we were looking at like, okay, ticket costs as opposed to the scalp tickets, people selling tickets, I wonder what they went for, the reseller tickets. You know what I'm saying? I think that's twofold. You know what I mean? Because I gotta be honest, most times I go to sporting events, either I get in for free, or I bought a ticket from somebody and they were reselling that ticket for, probably a profit. So give me your thoughts. What do you think happened?
I don't know. It could be location. I know New Orleans had a big issue with college, their finals in football, same city. I mean, you know more than me, but I thought there was some type of event threat.
Yeah, it was more than a threat. It was actually the guy running over people in the down in the French Quarter. Right.
Thank you. So something happened. Okay, so something did happen. I think that may have people didn't want to travel as much, right? Also, there've been some situations with plane crashes. Maybe people aren't as willing to travel. The weather hasn't been the best in some areas. So it could be a variety of reasons why people weren't as adamant to see an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I will say New Orleans hasn't had a Super Bowl since 2013. They're tied for the most hosted city to ever host Super Bowl. Can you guess what's the other tied hosted city for the most hosted Super Bowl?
Yeah, let's see. It would probably have to be I would think it would be a warm weather place, maybe somewhere in LA. LA may be the
LA's third, so they're tied for
LA's
second,
third.
or they're second, third. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You're close. What's another one place that people like to go to in the States?
One place that people like to go to in the States, Tampa, or down there in Florida.
They're fourth. They're so close.
Jesus Christ.
So
all right. They don't do it here in Texas, so Cowboy Stadium will be out. And let me see, another warm weather place.
I'll say that Dallas has only hosted it once in 2011, and Houston has hosted it 3 times. Right. The tied most city hosted is Miami. No shocker there.
What was I thinking?
Right. I know, but you're close. So you got 3 and 4.
Yeah.
You got 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So because All-Star just finished and everyone's in an All-Star bliss, I did want to bring up something really interesting in terms of sneaker brand and recognition. Nike has been dominant when it comes to basketball. But big up to the boardroom. They actually had an interesting post that I wanted to bring up. All-Star Weekend for NBA. Nike has quadrupled every other competitor brand on the All-Star court. What that means is looking at the brands that will be worn at the event, Nike is going to have 36 athletes. 36 athletes repping their brand. The next one that's closest is Adidas with 9. And Jordan brand, which I think is still Nike, has 7. After that, it's just a 2, Anta, we got Puma, we got Reebok, we got New Balance, we got Curry brand, we know who that is, the only one. But, I mean, I think this is ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous, but I just thought that this was such a huge win for Nike to be literally just, all y'all got athletes, but we got 36 plus 7 with Jordan. Any thoughts on how dominant Nike has been in this space?
I think first I want to say this, man. They make an incredible product, right? I think that Nike does a great job with their creative stuff and the technology, color. You know what I mean? Like the color compositions, they just make very, very unique products. I also think that the marketing is incredible. What they do from a marketing perspective, maybe second to none, right? I think that they started by attaching themselves to obviously MJ, and then they grew together. They started coming with the storylines of struggle and triumph that resonates with most people. And then of late, they just become like more of a heritage brand, right? And they dominate the basketball space here in the U.S. At the grassroots level, which attaches to kids young and then brings them up through the ranks for all of the Nike stuff. So I'm not at all surprised. I would like to see more competition with them, though. I would like to see more guys step away from Nike and try other brands. But I also understand that you like what you like, and Nike can pay a bunch of money.
No, I think everything you said is correct. And big up to Nick DePaula, who actually broke this news on his show. I think the key to any brand that wants to grow, and we're seeing Steph Curry doing more. We're seeing more NBA players that have a brand try to get into grassroots, like sponsor more grassroots teams and tournaments. Like the kids got to recognize you that when they are a pro, there's more confidence in what you're going to do. Right. I also think Nike does a really good job in allowing their athletes and the creatives to work together and be able to form something, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how the other brands work, but I just think Nike does a better job in getting athletes signed up. They're doing it right now in the women's space. And I think they're doing it before the other brands just jumped on, right? And now they're trying to catch up. Like Asia Wilson, imagine if Adidas got to her first, or Puma, right? So right. I do think a lot of brands just were sleeping, and Nike is just always hungry to find the best athletes, to invest in grassroots. I think they also have top-notch researchers as to how to get to these athletes and help them with their own goals of what they want to do. Of course, Kyrie, when he left them, whole bunch of drama, but then they got Ant-Man. Or sorry, right. John Moran, I think, or Ant-Man. So that's what they got. They're just always finding ways to get to the others. Gotta respect it. Totally.
I'm with you. I'm a huge fan of some of the other shoe companies. I think that Puma makes an incredible product. Some of the off-brand or maybe the brands that don't get involved with basketball that maybe should. Endorse, they do a great job with their product line. Converse, which is owned by Nike, they do a great job with their product line. I think there's some other product lines out there. I just don't think that to your point, I don't think they go hard enough. Or I don't think they're rooted in basketball. Some of the others, like Adidas, is rooted in soccer. Puma is rooted in soccer. They're not basketball people. So I think it's a little bit harder for them to break through. Mm-hmm. Although I think that a lot of their stuff can be considered lifestyle stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like you can walk around in a pair of Pumas. You can walk around in a pair of old school ponies. Basketball is a very unique space in the way that Nike's put like a stronghold on the basketball scene in the U.S. Well, maybe even North America. Now that I think about it, Shea is a Converse guy, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's a Converse.
Yeah. He just signed with Converse. He just signed with them, I think, this past year, 2024. I think he just dropped the first look of the Converse signature shoe.
Exactly. This shoe is actually pretty dope looking. He does a really cool job.
Yeah, and he's fashionista, GQ type player.
Right.
And he's the first NBA player that's signed with Converse since Elton Brand. Just find quite interesting. So
Elton Brand was with them. Wow. That means that Elton signed with them after D Wade, because D Wade signed with them initially out of college from Marquette into the league. He and Kirk Heinrich were both wearing Converse. Really interesting. On to the next topic. Team sponsorship revenue for major U.S. sports leagues in the U.S. So I guess I said that twice. This is very interesting, Nelly. The NFL is at $2.49 billion. That is with a B. Next to them was the MLB. They're at $1.8 billion. The NBA is third at $1.5 billion. The NHL is fourth at $1.3 billion. Last is MLS. They're at $665 million. So they're a little bit further down the trough. But That's the newest of the leagues in the U.S., and I believe that was going to go up over time. For me, I was a little shocked by the baseball being second because, if I'm being honest, I don't know a whole lot of people who watch baseball games, but going to a baseball game is a real treat. I would have thought that the NBA would have been second. They're not too far behind, but I would have thought that they would have been second. And again, the NHL is something that you're probably more accustomed to than I, being in Canada. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I thought this study was quite interesting. Big up to Sponsor United, who did the study on the actual sponsorship revenue. It's funny, looking at player salaries, right? How much players are getting paid in each of these leagues are not lining up with the revenue they're getting from not only sponsorship, but if we add media revenue, oh my gosh. So some of these leagues are underpaying players, number one. And I hope that those player unions are on their tail. But number two, I agree with you. Having the NBA being the third, I am shocked. The fact that the MLB can get more sponsor revenue than the NBA, something's not adding up. Like, something is wrong here. And again, guys, this is $1 billion. So $0.2 billion is a lot. The fact that the NFL is over $1 billion more than most of the other leagues. They talked about the NFL. They've done a really good job in creating a 365-day product, which is funny. The NFL has the shortest season, right? Mm-hmm. But they have mastered how to keep their fans engaged throughout the year. They talked about the fact that the NFL is now a big promoter of free agency, right? The draft, the training camps. They do so much to generate engagement from fans all year round. That's the reason why they have such a large, massive revenue compared to everyone else when it comes to sponsorship. Now, the question I have for you, Rand, do you think, if I'm the NBA or I'm the MLB, what do you think the NBA should do or figure out a way to try to get that? Now, I know that one thing they're doing is they're having a 2-night draft, right? Again, this is a way for them to generate revenue, but also I found that the year of Wemby, we saw a lot more high school or like college branding and marketing and social media posts around up-and-coming guys, right? I think that's something they have to try to do because clearly something's missing. Now, I'm not getting 1.5 billion isn't a bad deal, but if I'm 1 billion less than another league when it comes to sponsor revenue, clearly I'm doing something wrong. Any thoughts on that?
Tons. I have tons of thoughts on that. The first thought that I have is that if they can't get the sponsorships and they're playing 82 games a year and they don't have that number, then that means that the sponsors are not wanting to attach themselves to the product. Right? So if you think about it, corporations, if you look at the composition of the league and then you look at what corporate America, what that looks like and what a basketball court looks like, diametrically opposed, right? If I'm being quite honest, there is and again, like, I don't want to go too far into the woods with this, but there's a white element that's attached to the corporate America spiel. The basketball court is primarily identifies as Black. Most of those players are going to identify as Black, about 85% of them, right? So with that being said, there seems to be an issue with whether or not brands feel like, or sponsorships feel like they need to attach themselves to that. The other thing in the U.S. is that last time I checked, our U.S. government gives the NFL a ton of money from for
military.
the military.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is a huge draw. Now, that draw in itself puts the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force in front of more eyes because, again, there's the arenas for football are probably 4 times the size of a basketball arena. And then 2, more people can play football than can basketball. Basketball is a very unique skill set, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a very kind of unique deal. So it's a smaller section of the people can play that. In football, more people can play, so more people align with football. It's more of a gladiator sport, people running into each other at high rates of speed. You know what I mean? It's more like Roman Coliseum type deal. So I think that there's more of an attachment to that from every which way. There's more of an attachment to the brutality of the sport, the numbers that are involved in the sport, up through college. College football runs the NCAA, and then into the NFL. So I think there's a lot of different things that make that a very unique situation. But like you, I'm still a little thrown off because basketball is the second most popular sport in the world behind soccer. Soccer on this list happens to be last, last on the list. So if that's the case, then I mean, from a global perspective, basketball is doing probably better than the U.S. Or than American football. What is American football?
Well, I mean, it's not revenue-wise, right? Basketball maybe have more awareness.
Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. I just think there's a lot that goes into that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, the nail, whatever you call it. The fact that MLB has more in sponsor revenue, something is missing. And that could be, like, to your point, brands want to tie themselves to the NBA. And I'm wondering, when there was protesting happening, right, during COVID and different things that happened, I wonder if all those things factored in. Because I remember there were the Black Lives Matter on the court. But then the NFL had, I remember when they first came back, they had a whole black choir. Then they have like the black, the African anthem, and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff too. So, I mean, it's just interesting. But like, hopefully the NBA can find ways to increase engagement all year round. And maybe teams will steal some ideas from the NFL as to how they are making revenue for their sponsors all year round, not just during the 82, but not during the 82 season, that's all.
Well, before you go on to the next topic, I wanted to make sure that I reiterated a couple things. First, the NFL, for all that money that we just said they had, $1 billion more than the NBA. They have people that are running around with unguaranteed contracts in a sport where people are going to get hurt. So you just mentioned that. I want to make sure to reiterate that. And that really bothers me. I think we need to rethink how we participate in football and who's participating and at what age they're participating in football, American football, that is. So I think that that's something that needs to be talked about. Last point I wanted to make, though, before we move on, Nelly. I believe this is that stat that we just read, I believe, is one of the reasons that the Cooper Flags, the Mottises, the Grady Dicks, they're critical to the league's success. If we just talked about the business of basketball, just the business, we don't have to get into race relations. The white element is going to identify with Cooper Flag. They're going to identify with Grady Dick, and the African American community or the African community or the basketball community is going to identify with Grady Dick because he can play. They're going to identify with Cooper Flag because he can play. Montes was just in the dunk contest. He stunk it up, but he was just in the dunk contest. So again, like, there's an element that we'll ingratiate those players, but I think it also brings in a new audience that the NBA, I think, needs at this point in order to keep growing. The NFL has a collage of colors and peoples and background, when it comes to their league. So just my quick thoughts on that. I just didn't want to leave that out.
No problem. All right, y'all. So going to our next segment for the culture. And I'm so excited, y'all. We highlight athletes, anyone that's for the culture. And I have to do a big shout out to a tennis U.S. star, Coco Gauff, who recently announced that she will be providing a sponsorship to UNCF of $100,000. Okay, she's the youngest to ever gift this UNCF of 80-year history, by the way. And so this is actually going to be going towards HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and it will be supporting opportunities for student athletes in tennis. It will also help next generation student athletes to pursue their dreams, and it will reinforce the importance of supporting young leaders and ensuring they have any type of resource to be leaders and be successful. But what really sparked Coco Gauff to do this is that she said her family has a long history with HBCUs. Those who don't know who she is, by the way, Coco Gauff was the youngest tennis player in history to qualify for a main draw in Wimbledon back in 2019. She was 15 at the time. That same year, at 15, she defeated Venus Williams and reached the fourth round. She's only 20, y'all, and has had $23 million in earnings from her wins, right? 23 million already at 20. So Coco Gauff, she's been a star, and I've been following her career. She was number 1, number 2 for double, number 2 in singles, and so just really as her high career rankings, but really inspirational, I think, for a lot of young athletes. But her giving back to HBCUs, I think, is huge. And I'm really happy that she finds it important to give back to young Black athletes and to support them in their pursuit of not only sport, but also education. So, Ran, what's your thoughts on Coco Gauff, what she has done as an athlete, but also her giving back to HBCUs?
Well, from an athletics standpoint, I think she's been really impressive, and I think that her career is really just getting started. So there's going to be a lot I think she's going to be able to accomplish. Coco is a player. I don't think there's any question about that when it comes to tennis. As far as what she's done for HBCUs in terms of donating, I think it's important when we talk about the culture. What is an HBCU and what is a PWI? These things are very different in terms of who's teaching who, how you're learning, what culture you're a part of. When we're talking about PWIs, predominantly white colleges, there's an experience there that you get that is very different from my friends who went to HBCUs. I went to San Diego State, graduated, and I love my school. I was just out there a few weeks ago. But that experience is a very different one than going to see one of my coaching buddies at Prairie View, right? That was a completely different cultural experience, and one that shocked me, that I wish that I had experienced, right? So for her to say, hey, listen, I'm going to donate to these schools, that's a great thing. You know what I mean? And I think that will help. It should help promote some of those schools. We had Deion Sanders, who was coaching at Jackson State, that culturally drove hundreds of millions of dollars into that community as a whole. I think we need more of our own, more of the Black element at those schools. I think that those sports programs need to be better, but I also think that education should precede the athletic piece. Whereas in some situations on the PWI side, the athletics precede the academics. And I think that does us a disservice, because it is, without there being any, I don't want to say this in uncertain terms, and I don't want to phony kick it either, but it's typically basketball and football that is driving these athletic programs. Those programs are being led by people of color. Those people of color are leaving their communities and going into these PWIs. So I believe that some of these people of color need to stay in their own community and help drive some of these HBCUs in some of these situations, especially if you're not going to be starring at one of these PWIs. And I've heard about all of the horror stories, but somebody has to be the sacrificial lamb. Somebody has to sacrifice. Somebody has to be willing to take less to get more later on. And I believe that this contribution that she made will be matched by other people, and they will be willing to donate just the same to these schools. But also these schools have to make sure that they're doing the right things with the money as well. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
No, for sure. No, I agree. And again, we highlight these type of individuals, and not only them as athletes, but what they're doing off the court, is because who knows how many young Black athletes who want to play tennis professionally, but don't have the funding or have the money to play, participate, and go to school. So she's going to touch so many lives by doing this, and I'm so honored to recognize her contribution today. Like correction, on UNCF's website, she is one of the youngest major gift donors in their 80-year history. So big up to Coco Gauff. Thank you. Very inspirational. I hope others join the cause. Okay, and she's for the culture. Our last segment, That's Absurd. Brad, how about you tell the folks what absurd comment we heard this week? You got it.
All right. So Joe Mazzulla wants the NBA to ban halftime. Here's the quote. If it was up to me, I wish we would ban halftime. I can't stand halftime. I just don't understand it. I guess I do from a business standpoint, but I hate it. It's useless.
Absurd.
Was that absurd?
That's via Zoe and Bertrand, their show.
Right.
Wow, a Boston focused sports show.
Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on that.
Oh man, listen.
I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Listen, man. First of all, big up to Legion Hoops out on Twitter for always providing the absurd topics. I don't know if they know this, but they be giving me some what in the world. So, but when I read this topic, I was just so confused because he fully wants a ban in halftime. Let's talk about why is there a halftime, Joe Mutula? Why? Right? There's many reasons why the NBA requires a halftime. Logistically, they require it. Financially, they require it. Right. Sponsors, money, right? And also from an audience perspective, right? No one wants to sit on their screen watching a game straight 4 quarters. We don't have time for that. Folks need to get up, right? Take a break, go to the bathroom. If you're at a game, for those who go to games, you know, at a halftime, okay, great, I can go get a drink, get some water. If you have kids at the game, take them to the bathroom. There's many reasons why we need a halftime, Joe.
Yeah.
Half the NBA, if you watch third quarters, beginning of third quarters are typically empty because people are still going to the bathroom. Half times are required in all sports. I don't know any sport doesn't have a break. Athletes need it, coaches need it to regroup. What? So Joe just wants to play 4 straight quarters because he thinks coaches can make adjustments and now he's in trouble? My question for Joe Mazzulla's best friend: why does he fear the halftime? What happened that has made him hate halftime so much?
Trying to get home fast. That's all.
Your thoughts, Ren.
Yeah, he's trying to get home quicker. It sounds like to me, he's trying to get home to his wife and kids. Listen, when I read this initially, when you sent it to me, I was like, well, does he have a point? And I was like, well, even if you go to, let's say we went to an opera, right? A 3.5 hour opera. Are they not going to have a break? You got to have a break. People want to go to the bathroom, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want to get a drink? You want to get out of that seat? You want to, you know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily want to play all the way through. From a basketball perspective, you want to regroup, right? You want at the halfway point, what is going on? What's going right? What is going wrong? Let's talk about it for a second. Let's regroup. You know what I mean? Like, and he's making it seem like it's 3 hours long. What is it? 15 minutes? You know, we're talking about just enough time, you know, to reset. Plus, it draws it out. It's more of an event. You get paid more. So if you understand the business of it, Joseph, why would you have?
Joseph is crazy.
If you understand the business of it, Joseph, why would you say that you want to do away with it? Because that halftime helps you make the money that you use to feed your people, right? You know, whoever that is, family, friends, whatever that is, mama, grandmama, whatever that is, right? That drawn out event adds to the allure of the sport of basketball. But I do get it from this perspective. If you could play a basketball game 4 quarters and be done, right? You could actually do that, but that's just not the way that it's structured, boss. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Joseph Mazzulla is a very unique individual. From
you think? God, like this is so absurd. I'm just like, what sport doesn't have a break? Every sport has a break because you have to regroup. Right. If not, we'll have the most. We have injuries, so many injuries in most sports. No halftime, Lord. Just have a team of 50 for the NBA because people would be getting mashed up. Like, what are we talking about, Joe? Like, come on, man. Absurd.
Mash up is crazy.
Bad.
Oh, man.
Hold up, but the fact that he said he hated it, like, he's so extra. He fully said, I can't stand halftime. I just don't understand it. Like, come on, Joe. You're smart enough to understand why there's a halftime. Like,
man, Joseph Mazzulla is a very, very unique individual. Looking from the look on his face to the things that he says to the distinct look that he has, his last name in comparison to who he, you know, like you hear Joe Mazzulla, you look at him, you would not think that's somebody named Joe Mazzulla. But I've heard him talk about God, but I've also heard him talk, or being spiritual and religious, but I've also heard him talk about some things like this that were crazy as hell. They were absurd as all get out. But somehow he makes it all fit, right? It's just who he is. You know what I mean? So shout out to him, man. He won a championship over there. You know what I'm saying, with that group. He fell into a
because he had a halftime that he called useless. That's why he won the championship. If he thinks Jaylen Brown and Tatum could have helped him win that chip without a halftime, get out of here, bro. This guy, my gosh.
Shout out to you, Joe, man. You know what I'm saying? The homie thinks you're absurd, man. Shout out to you.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
He's not absurd. His comment about banning halftime and calling it useless and saying, I don't understand it. What's the point? Like, I can't stand halftime, quote unquote. Really? You can't stand it? Joe, there's other things to worry about in life than halftime, okay?
Halftime,
just focus on other things. All right, y'all. So that's it. Oh, about to wrap up the episode. As you know, we'd like to do our shout out. My shout out this week is actually quite unique. There's an artist named Tems, music artist. She won a Grammy, first time. And she's, of course, Nigerian. Big up to her, to all my Nigers listening. She actually is the latest addition to an MLS team in San Diego FC. And she'll be part of the ownership group starting next season. So she's the first African female, to be involved in MLS ownership. So big up to Tems for really being a trailblazer and actually investing, because MLS, like you mentioned, that's a league that we've seen grown so much since like the 2010s, right? They're a fast growing league, and her investing, of course, soccer is a football, we call it in the world. It's a global sport, most popular sport in the world. And it coming to the States, MLS, Kevin Durant had been a part of the ownership groups, so as James Harden. So we still need players investing in it, but big up to her for taking time to say, you know what, I'm going to invest in this team in San Diego. So I just want to give her a big shout out for that.
That's what's up.
How about you, Ren? What's your shout out?
My shout out is twofold. With me being an American and you being a Canadian, I want to make sure that I shout two people out. First, Kendrick Lamar for the incredible halftime show that he put on that somehow got lost in translation for some, and for others didn't hurt, but people were a little bit upset. And for all of the people that are in hip-hop culture who understood what he was saying, because it seems like a lot of people didn't. But for the culture, shout out for the culture.
For me. Go ahead. What's the shout out?
The other shout out is Drake, right? The other shout out to Drake for bouncing back with another album. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty dope, and he used the momentum of the Kendrick Lamar beef battle, whatever, to drop another album and get back to the business of music. We can disagree on a lot of things, Nelly, but the one thing that we have to agree on is that those are two artists who are influential in the community of hip hop and music especially, and those two have been huge for the culture of music. And I don't want the world to hate one and love the other. I would prefer that they had their battle. Now let's move forward with just making good music. Drake, let's just make more good music. Kendrick, let's make more good music and do what he does, and Drake can do what he does, and the world can move forward. So shout out to both of them for doing what they do in music.
I think that's probably the first time on any podcast people have shouted out both in that way. I don't know if I'm making allegations here, but big up to you for trying to create peace.
Special over here. We special over here. We special over here. Good rookies.
Oh, man.
This is
but no,
good
great shout outs. Great shout outs.
It's the Good Rookie Show. You booed that, but I ain't gonna bet. You better make sure that make sure. Don't edit out that. I'm calling it out right now. Do not edit out that thumbs down that you just did in that boo that you did.
I don't care. I'm not gonna edit it out. I know what I did. but nah, man. Big up to everyone listening to the podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Again, please share with a friend, comment, like, and we're on all platforms, y'all. Okay,
that's a fact. Make sure that you reach out to us on Twitter, one of us, or on the Good Rookies platform, and tell us what you want us to talk about. If there's some things that are coming up that you want us to talk about or share, make sure to reach out to us. You know what I mean, and give us some ideas as to what you want to hear. We want to be interactive with the public. So.
Bingo. Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much, y'all, and we out. Peace.